Hello, everyone. Welcome to the IKEA Foundation Week. My name is Shahab Javeri. I'm from the SELCO Foundation. We're an organization that is supported by the IKEA Foundation, and currently I'm in Bangalore in India, and most of our work is here in India. Um, I'm going to tell you a little bit about energy access, which is the subject that we often work with, which is the centerpiece of our work and what IKEA Foundation supports us for. But what is the energy access challenge? And do we all understand what energy access really means to a lot of people around the world? Energy is required for a number of things that we need in our daily lives. And we might not often understand what the absence of energy might be like. But to give you a bit of an example, the stream itself wouldn't be possible without the presence of electricity and energy and the internet. A lot of the food that we eat wouldn't be on our plates in the absence of energy. The energy is required across many different levels in the way that we get food onto our plates. The way we cook our food, cooking of the food requires energy. All the ingredients that we put into our food need to be processed in a way that need energy. And agriculture, which is where a lot of these ingredients come from, also need energy in many different ways, like water pumping and so on. And a large number of people don't have access to these basic services that leave them in poverty. And to illustrate this further, I'd like to bring up a small fact about what the extent of this problem is. 1 billion people in the world still live without electricity. And what's more important is that a large number of these people, the majority of these people, live in sub-Saharan Africa or the developing communities, developing economies of Asia. And while this is a really large problem, to understand this, it would be good to get a sense of this from a very personal point of view. And for that, we've decided to bring on board our colleague from IKEA Netherlands, who visited us in 2019 and has been able to experience what the presence of energy access means to a large number of communities. She'll be telling you about her trip in India, her experiences with a lot of different energy solutions that are working for people in the different livelihoods that are carried out, in the way that they access healthcare or the way that they access education. And with that, I'd like to bring on board Julie, who is the online commercial planning specialist for IKEA Netherlands. Just before, hi, Julie. Hi, Julie. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Just before I let Julie continue from here on, I'd like to introduce what SELCO Foundation does, which is bringing access to clean and reliable energy, which we feel is a really critical enabler for healthcare, livelihoods, agriculture, for a large number of the poor people that live in the world. And IKEA Foundation helps us to deliver these energy systems, to innovate on these energy systems. And in a way that we use renewable energy, which makes solutions climate resilient and sustainable for a really long period of time. Julie will illustrate further from here on. Thank you so much, Julie, for joining us. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so like Shahab said, I am an eyewitness for IKEA Netherlands. And in November of 2019, we did a trip to India with 4 of us. You can go to the next slide. So yeah, I would like to share a little bit about some of the different experiences that we had and a couple of different stories. I think I could probably fill an hour, but I'll try to do it all within 10 minutes. So one of the first ones that I would like to share with you is about an entrepreneur named Rihanna and her roti rolling machine. So this is the village where Rihanna lives, and you can go to the next slide. And so this is Rihanna sitting here on the left. And we were invited into Rihanna's home to see how renewable energy has changed her life. And a big part of the process while we were in India, we were looking at before and after the intervention of SELCO and how renewable energy really changes their lives. So first, we had the opportunity to make roti by hand with Rihanna. And it was a super difficult process. I think it took us like 15 minutes to make 2 maybe. And the machine here on the right is powered by solar energy. And there, Rihanna is able to make roti way faster than by hand. It's way easier on your arms and on your muscles because you don't have to pat it all down by hand. She can use the foot press, and then the roller comes down and it makes the exact perfect size for what she needs. So we talked a lot with Rihanna and her family about how this has changed their lives. And one thing that really stood out to me was Rihanna said they were really able to improve their situation within the community and also within her own family. She mentioned something that really stood out to me was that before she had this business, her family wouldn't want to come visit her house because she didn't have a proper floor and proper walls. And since she's had this business and has been able to bring income for her family, they now have a really nice home that they can welcome the rest of their family into. We also talked a lot with Rihanna's children, and they were all in school and all had amazing ambitions for future careers. So you can really see how this has changed the lives of her family. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, so this was the grandmother that also lives in their house with them. They have 3 children, and you can see in the right photo the solar panels on top of their home. And this also provides lights for them so that their kids can study at night. So we actually got to cook and enjoy a really beautiful meal in their home with them. They welcomed us, and it was a really, really amazing experience to see the before and after and to hear their experience with SELCO and the support that SELCO gives them. Next slide. Yeah, so the next story that I would like to share is a model solar village. So here you can see the very warm welcome that we got as we entered the village. You can go to the next slide. And here is an example of a rice milling machine. So this village is really unique in that they have set up all different entrepreneurs in the village with all different solar-powered machines. So this means that they are not creating competition for each other, but they can really function as one big village all together. So this woman and her son have a rice milling machine. And with this machine, people in the community can bring their rice and they mill it into flour for them. And you can go to the next slide. So one story that really stood out for me was this woman on the right. She said she used to have to walk many, many kilometers to get her rice milled prior to having one in their own village. And so she said it would take a lot of time out of her week or month, and it was heavy, and she would have to carry it both ways. But by having one in their own village, it would only take her a few minutes. She could walk across the village, have her flour milled. So for her, it really made a big difference in her daily life that she's able to access this much quicker. And they also really teach the entrepreneurs how to run everything like a business. So they have logbooks, and they really work with SELCO on the business side of it. So SELCO really helps them with an end-to-end solution for their businesses. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is an example. This is outside of the rice milling machine, and you can see the solar panels here that help provide the energy for the machine. And they also use it as a cover for their motorbike, so dual purpose. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, and so this was one of the leaders of the village and his family, and his wife is a seamstress. So they had a solar-powered sewing machine for her, and she was able to make much more intricate designs with this sewing machine. So therefore, she was able to sell her clothes for even more than she would if she was doing it by hand. So it really helps provide an extra income for her family. And you can see her 2 children there who attended the solar-powered school that was also in this village. Next slide. And another example that we saw of solar-powered energy was the potters. So you can see on the right, there's a hand-powered pottery wheel. It was really heavy and really quite difficult to keep it going at an average speed. And then on the left, you see the solar-powered pottery wheel. So it's much easier on your body to use the solar-powered one and much more efficient. You can go to the next slide. So here you can see we got to try both. We weren't very good no matter which one we tried, but the potters were amazing. And you can kind of see behind in one of the photos all of the different things that they make and sell. So they said that the solar power wheel was much more efficient time-wise and much easier on their body. So they were able to make more pottery more consistently. Next slide, please. And yeah, lastly, I'd just like to share they performed a beautiful traditional stick dance for us. That was really touching. They were so excited to show us everything in their village, and you can see how much it really impacts their daily lives to have all of these entrepreneurs within their own village kind of all working together to create this cohesive village. And yeah, you really see, it was amazing to see firsthand the effect that renewable energy can have on the lives of individual people. Thank you. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat and I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Julie, for this presentation. I think it's always fun to hear about these stories from a third person and get an experience of these things. And it gives us a perspective on what these solutions actually mean to a lot of people. Thank you so much. But I'm not going to let you go that easily. I have a small question that we actually received yesterday. So we did a very similar session yesterday with IKEA, from the IKEA team in UK, and one of the questions that I really liked was by Anna Helprin, who also works at IKEA, was that what was the most surprising thing that you witnessed at the trip? And to add to that question, I'd like you to maybe call out something that was more positive, something that you'll take back in a more positive way, and something that was a bit critical or perhaps negative, something that made you think that should be done differently. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so big question. But yeah, I think some of the most surprising things were, yeah, really how remote some of the villages were. And I think really how needed this energy access is in their daily lives. And I think, yeah, a really positive example. I'm just going through all of the experiences we had. There was so much. But yeah, I think one really positive example was the Mahesh Foundation and the school that he runs there for orphaned children. And I think seeing what he's able to do there to educate the children, to provide them computer access, which they would normally never have. I think, yeah, that was a really, really important experience for us to see. And I think something, yeah, that surprised us there was some of the children were really asking about our eye color and our hair color because they had never seen someone who's blonde hair with blue eyes before. So one girl whispered, like, can they see out of their eyes because they have blue eyes? So that was, yeah, just like a nice, really cute experience. And it was so awesome to connect with those kids. Yeah, and I think, yeah.
Something critical.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's two parts. I think every time that we met with the children, they gave like either a little play or a little skit for us about sustainability and how important it is, and how I think it's really amazing that in schools they're teaching that. But then something that shocked us was when you're in a downtown part of a city, how much garbage and how much trash is on the streets. I think that was really surprising. So I think it's really good that they're now teaching it in schools and teaching it to these children, that it's really important. They had a really cute skit about how you can't throw the garbage in the street because then the cows eat it and they get sick from that. So I think teaching them with really real life examples was really nice to see. But I think it was surprising to us how much pollution and yeah, garbage there still is in the streets and how much work there is still left to be done.
Thank you for your thoughts, Julie.
Yeah,
and thank you so much for joining us as well. Like I said, it's always great to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor.
And all of you, actually. Before we wind down, I'd like to maybe shed some light on the work that we're currently doing with the IKEA Foundation. IKEA Foundation not only supports us in our regular work where we bring sustainable energy access for livelihoods and healthcare, but they've also specially supported us to continue working towards on our efforts related to the COVID-19 pandemic in India, and coming up with these benchmark solutions that can help people fight the pandemic, not just for healthcare, but across other sectors as well. And to illustrate that further, I've got these three images on the screen for you. Energy is really critical when it comes to healthcare. A lot of people today need oxygen. Oxygen concentrators, oxygen generators all require energy. Hospitals require energy. They require special kinds of lights. And having all of that available to all people is something that we are highly prioritizing right now, which means that how do we decentralize and make COVID testing more accessible to people? How do we make sure that vaccination is accessible to people living in really remote communities, like Julie spoke about? Similarly, in the field of agriculture, farmers and a lot of other livelihoods in rural areas are suffering greatly. Supply chains, which are always built centralized, are failing right now. And a lot of the services that farmers and a lot of other people in rural areas were accessing are not accessible anymore, or even more inaccessible than they usually were. And having some of these services available at the last mile, which help farmers store their food and vegetables that they're growing in, say, cold storage, in solar powered cold storage, or being able to process some of this food that would have gone to waste otherwise, are all immediate steps that we're taking to help farmers and farmer groups in India. And similarly, in the field of education, this has been something that will have a long-lasting impact in India and around the world. Schools have been shut for more than a year, and a large number of children, like the child on the right-hand side of the screen, not only do not have access to basic lights, but moreover, in times like the pandemic, do not have access to digital education with which they'd be able to study at home. And energy enables all of that. And those are some of the steps that we're taking right now. On this next slide are some examples to show you. The vehicle on the top left is actually a vehicle that helps collect swabs for COVID-19, and it's solar powered, so it's comfortable to sit inside for the medical administrator. Similarly, there are other kinds of testing kiosks. There are hospitals that we're building in 20, 25 days in areas where they're really needed immediately. We're deploying cold storage solutions so that food is not wasted, and farmers are able to hold on to their incomes. And we're also improving small businesses such that they can attract new customers even at a very bleak time like the pandemic, where economies are falling. Um, to end this, I'd like to reiterate what IKEA Foundation is supporting SELCO Foundation for, which is energy access, but for enabling improved livelihoods, for enabling sustainable development. Energy access only feeds in to a lot of these different pieces of work. And because we use renewable energy, we're able to see long-term climate benefits from these solutions. Um, we're always innovating. We're working on COVID right now. We're working on a large number of other things, and we're always looking for new ideas. And and we'd be happy if any one of you has an idea and would like to share it with us. It could involve energy. It could indirectly involve energy, and we'd be happy to support you in your innovations, especially in India, as much as possible. So please do write to us. Um, this is the email on the right where you can reach us, and we encourage you to write to us. Maybe you could ask us about the existing solutions that we have, and we'd be happy to help you implement it in the places that you work, whether it's Africa or other parts of Asia or South America. Please do reach out to us. So with that, I think that we can say goodbye. Um, Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to have a similar session again where we're able to speak to you and share your work, share our work. Thank you so much.